The St. Louis Cardinals, big series win over the Philadelphia Phillies. They capped off the rubber match on Sunday with a convincing 7-0 shutout. Wilson Contreras homered. Jordan Walker did the same. Matthew Liberatore was excellent, and we're here to break it down for you. Welcome back to Cardinal Territory. I'm Katie Woo, back with Bernie Miklasz. Again, Bernie, I'm not sure that I would have thought a series win was on the horizon after given how the Cardinals ended their road trip. But hey, I guess I don't know ball because here we have one.
Well, long season, anything can happen. But, they hadn't beaten the Phillies in a season since 2017. I know a lot of those players weren't part of those teams, but, they've just got smoked by the Phillies. And then the Phillies come into town. They have Nolan pitching on Friday and then Zach Wheeler on Sunday, and they lose both games. And I got to thinking, because I got to think about what to write in the morning. And it's like, it's kind of like, oh, those wacky Cardinals. You just never know what to expect from them. Like when you think they're going to be good, like against the Pirates, they're not good. When you think they're going to get rolled over by the Phillies, they're like, no, we're going to beat Nolan. We're going to beat Wheeler. And the crazy thing about this team is the games they've lost, a lot of them have been to kind of just run-of-the-mill starting pitchers. But, they've beaten Pablo Lopez. They've beaten Paul Skeens. They've beaten Aaron Nola. They've beaten Zach Wheeler. It's like, scratch my head. Go figure. I can't figure these guys out sometimes. I guess that's a good thing. They keep it interesting.
They certainly keep it interesting. And I, like you, have no idea what I'm watching every day. I just show up and I'm here to enjoy. But I thought that we saw some really a well-pitched series across the board. And I thought you saw three starters from the Cardinals, Andre Pallante, Miles Michaelis, and Matthew Liberatore, who needed to take some steps forward or at least show some progress, all in different ways, all for different reasons. And they did exactly that. In The Athletic tomorrow, we'll have a breakdown of how all three starts from Pallante, Michaelis, and Liberatore helped the Cardinals lock up that big series win over the Phillies. Look, that's a tough Phillies team. They can hit. And given that matchup of Nola, Sanchez, Wheeler, I thought this could have gotten ugly at Busch Stadium. But to shut out the Phillies not once but twice, what a nice job from that pitching staff.
The Cardinals' two least experienced starting pitchers, Andre Pallante and Matthew Liberatore, not in that order. Libby's the youngest, but anyway, in chronological order. So Andre Pallante is the second youngest Cardinal starter. He clearly outpitched Aaron Nola the other night. And Aaron Nola was really good. And then Liberatore, wow, what a performance on Sunday! And he outpitched Zach Wheeler, who's what? Is he a top 5 starter in Major League Baseball? I think he is. That's what I mean. See, those things are really good signs. And I think the Cardinals, like their second time through the rotation this year was awful. The ERA was over 10.
Yes.
The first time through, it was good. Second time, a disaster. Third time through, I think it was a 127 or 129 ERA. Their starters only allowed 4 runs, and 3 were given up by Michaelis, which means the other 4 guys gave up 1 run between them. I mean, once again, it's like, go figure. I don't rule out that they'll get some good starts, but that good? I mean, so I guess we could say, Katie, the consistency will be the big question because we have seen what they're capable of doing on both sides of the ball, as they say in football. Right. I mean, we've seen them pitch at a high level. We've seen them hit at a high level. Then one area kind of recedes and the other one sort of goes up. It's kind of fun to watch, but they're nuts. I mean, they've got a kind of identity that sort of swerves all over the place. I like watching the team, though. I do.
It's definitely an interesting team to watch. And I feel like this is going to be a maddening season in terms of, not that the product isn't enjoyable. I've actually, over the first 15 games, found this to be a very enjoyable product to watch.
Right.
I think it's just the consistency. I think that's the perfect word to describe it. I think they're going to have some highs and there are going to be some lows. And this is a team that's balancing winning and development simultaneously, which means they're going to have games that they win and they're going to have games that they lose. And either way, it's, we're developing or we need to win. And I think that's the exhausting part. But all things considered, after 15 games, the Cardinals are 7-8. They're right about where I thought they'd be to start the season. I didn't expect it to be so many hills. But if that's the way that this Cardinals team is going to play out over the season, at least we will not be bored.
And I want to ask you something, because you were obviously down there and you were talking to the pitchers, but Matthew Liberatore was so impressive today, so impressive. And I've actually liked him in all 3 starts, even though maybe the earned runs weren't good, but just the way he went at it. the way he went at it, like his aggressive mindset, and you could see his confidence growing at each start. But today, the dude was just in charge. And as you mentioned a minute ago, the Phillies have some great bats in that lineup, and the dude was just in charge. It was just like, no. There'll be none of that today. I got this one. And the way he was painting the outside corner with strikes, like all 3 or 4 pitches, but his 3 primary pitches, he was just painting the outside corner. He was putting it out of reach. That was just a wonderful, wonderful thing to see. Because I have really felt for this guy because of the yo-yo they put him on, and he never knew he was just starting relieving. And I wanted to ask you a question. How much is this just the fact that for the first time ever, they've said to him, in effect, you're in the rotation. We believe in you. Go get him.
I think it's huge. And that's part of the reason they're doing this the way that they are. It's part of the reason when the Cardinals broke camp and Ollie Marmol said, Matthew Liberatore is our 5th starter, he was adamant. He doubled down and said, this is not a spot start opportunity. This is not something where we throw him in there for a month and reevaluate. We are going to give him the chance to be a legitimate starter where he's not questioning his role. He's not questioning if he's going to go back down to Memphis after a bad start. We're giving him the runway. If he struggles, he's going to have the opportunity to pitch through it. And talking to Libby, that was the exact question I asked him today post-game, was how does clarity about your role really help you and continue to help you grow in your progression? And he says, it's allowed him to completely reevaluate how he does his processes, how he prepares for starts. He said, now that I have a more clear runway of what I'm doing, everything else has been much easier to fall into place and to game plan. And that just does wonders for guys like this. And in a season like this transition year that St. Louis has said is happening, this is the exact time to try this out with Matthew Liberatore. I understand the reluctance at first, maybe from the fan perspective, because he was so effective in that relief role in 2024. But if you are trying to figure out who is on your roster and who you can build around, given the astronomically high prices of starting pitching, if you believe that you have someone in your organization that can pitch as a starter at the major league level right now, you need to see what you have in him and if that is a legitimate reality. And we're 3 starts in. I've been encouraged, but a lot of season to go. But again, this is exactly the type of decisions you should be making for the Cardinals in this transition year. And I really like the early returns on Matthew Liberatore so far. I think he's really helped by understanding and having a clear usage and a clear plan.
Yeah, and it's so important that he establishes himself as a starter for 2026, where the Cardinals go into late in the season and start looking ahead to next. Oh yeah, Libby's in. So we got him in there. See, and you mentioned it. The cost starting pitching is ridiculous. The Cardinals have not developed enough of their own. Not even close. It's been pretty much a drought. But you can always find relievers, and so I know was effective in the bullpen. But you can always find those guys. My goodness, the Cardinals found a gem in Phil Maton.
Oh man, they have.
And I'm exaggerating intentionally, but they signed him like 5 hours before the season started, and they're always out there, and you can always take guys you have in your own system and convert them to relievers, like a Tekoa Roby, for example. I'm not saying, I'm just offering hypotheticals, guys like that. They have some guys in the minors that they can plug in, I think, later in the season. So no, to establish Liberatore, if they can, as a guy that's a definite piece of the rotation next year, that's exactly what a runway season is supposed to be about. And that would be a really big check mark on sort of things to do in the offseason. They'd already done it if he's going to be one of their starters in 26.
Couldn't agree with you more, Bernie. And there's a couple more pitchers I would like to highlight a little bit more of Palante and Miklasz. First, though, let's hear from our pals at Nutrafol. That's not even the right number. Okay. If you guys couldn't tell, it's Sunday night and I am exhausted. Let's try this again from our pals at Nutrafol.
Hair thinning is very common, very frustrating problem that many men deal with. From stress and nutrition to hormones to lifestyle, so many internal factors affect what you see on the outside. Luckily, Nutrafol is here to help.
Thinning hair is different for men and women, so a one-size-fits-all approach to their hair growth doesn't cut it. Nutrafol has multiple formulas for men and women that are tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol for a limited time. Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code FOUL.
All right, back to it. But before we talk about Miklasz and Pallante, Bernie, where did you get that hat? I want it.
I was wondering if you noticed that, because we determined a couple videos back that we're both cat fans, huge cat fans, right? All right. This was actually a cap worn by a minor league baseball team in Kansas City. They were called the Kansas City Cats, KATZ. Now, why that spelling of the name? It's because the owner owned a chain of family-owned business, a chain of drugstores in the Kansas City area, Cats Drugs or Cats Pharmacy, whatever it is. And the family also owned this minor league team. And I think there's another one in Chicago or something. But anyway, I don't know if I should plug the site or not. They can pay for some time here on Foul Territory, Cardinal Territory. But no, there's a site that's got all of these replica classic hats. Some of them are like really obscure, like this. I just love that stuff. But when I saw that, I was like, yeah, right on. We have 5 cats and we keep rescuing them. And yeah, I'm gonna wear this proudly. Right.
I can hear my cat. She's so mad at me right now because I came home. I went to Bush, did the game, went out to Maryland Heights to do Channel 4 for their Sunday sports show. Walked in my door, threw my purse down, picked her up, and put her in my room and started this podcast. And she is mad. She wants attention, but she's gonna have to wait. So
you'll make up for it. You'll make up for it. Yeah.
Let's talk briefly about the jobs that Andre Pallante did and Miles Miklasz as well. Pallante, that's 7 innings, 2 hits, 4 strikeouts. It was by no means his ideal situation. Masyn Winn leaves in the first inning with back spasms. We'll have more on that later in the show. And all of a sudden, you have your ideal infield alignment of Thomas Saggese and Pedro Pages at shortstop and second base. And Pallante is now throwing to a catcher, Joel Pozo, who he has never worked with before. And this all takes place over the course of an inning change. Brendan Donovan, probably the first and last time we'll see him at DH. And talking to Ollie this morning, a couple days had passed and they'd won the game, so we're allowed to make fun of him. Sat down in the chair and I was like, so first and last time you make Donnie your DH, right? And he just gave me this look and he's like, shut up. But like the method behind that was coming off a scheduled off day was to give Donnie a day and a half of rest, right? Otherwise we'd have never seen that. And it just so happened to be the time that Masyn Winn gets pulled after, the third out of the game. So Pallante, the reason that they just didn't put Donovan in as in at short was because they would have lost the DH. And then all of a sudden you have Pallante hitting. You don't want that. He hasn't had, I don't think he's taken a bat since 22. So I thought he did a nice job with all the exterior factors. Nothing ideal about that game, just locking in and pitching. I want to commend that. And then Miles Miklasz, I'm going to get some flack for this. I don't think pitched poorly on Saturday. Some calls didn't go his way. That should have been strike 3 against Kyle Schwarber before the Nick Castellanos double, but that's baseball. I don't want to get too hung up on that. I thought how Miklasz recovered after that, retired 12 straight, struck out 5, 6 total on the day, was much more effective with sequencing, with command. He's not necessarily a swing and miss guy, as you know, Bernie, but he certainly has that. I mean, he's struck out 8, 9 guys before. He's just efficient. He prefers the early contact, weak contact early in counts. But one thing that they're working on, as you and I both know, is because Miles throws so many strikes and is so continuously in the zone, it's easy to square him up. So when he gets to an 0-2, 1-2 count, he's purposely missing. He's purposely throwing balls, something he's never done before in his career. And he's essentially unlearning all the things that he learned in his career that can be hard to do for a 36-year-old veteran. But I thought on Saturday, sure, the line isn't much to write home about, 3 earned runs over 5 innings. But I thought he pitched really well given what the Cardinals are trying to have him do. And he certainly seemed a lot more confident after the game talking to him.
Well, I try to be fair. And, I've been kind of ruthless. That's too hard on myself, actually. I've been just, hey, the stats are the stats.
Stats are stats.
And the stats have been horrible for a long time. And, when you're down near the bottom, like bottom 3 in ERA since the start of 2023, and you're down at the bottom in like strikeout rate, swing and miss rate, that's pretty established that the things you have going for you are not working very well, and you're not capable of throwing pitches by hitters. And if that happens for a month, you say, well, that's just a phase. So this has been going on for 2+ years.
Right.
So to be fair, that was a different guy on Saturday because the swing and miss was there. The strikeouts when he needed them were there. Now, can he keep it up? It sounds to me, and I can't wait to read your piece in The Athletic tomorrow. It sounds like they have found some things. You mentioned sequencing, maybe the way he uses certain pitches depending on counts. And maybe they're trying some different things with him. But I take that. I got to give him credit. That was a good start. I mean, that was a legitimately good start. I'm like you. I don't really care what the line score says or the pitching line says because, bad balls and strike guy behind the plate the other day. But you know what? But after that, he kind of shut it down, except for maybe one more run. He kind of shut it down. He overcame it, as you pointed out. So I like the way he pitched. I'm going to be a little skeptical, and I see him repeat that a few times.
Yeah, repeatability is key here. And one thing that I have grown to appreciate about Miles is that he's candid and he's honest about every start. And talking to him on Saturday, he said, I feel a little bit more convicted. I feel a little bit more sure of the plan, more confidence, and that really helps. I'll be interested to see what Miles has to say. He will be a guest next week. I believe that episode will drop Wednesday, so stay tuned. But I think repeatability is key here. I'm not saying, Miles Miklasz is fixed because he had one, all things considered, decent start, but in terms of what he's trying to work on, what Dusty Blake is incorporating in their plan, a lot of steps in the right direction for Miles Miklasz. And
I'm sorry. I wanted to circle back briefly on one thing. There's a lot of rage. I know. Go figure. Rage on social media.
Too surprised.
A lot of rage about Donovan being the DH, and even in the comments section at The Athletic under your story about the wind injury. Yeah, and I'm. Ollie took a risk there, but it's hard to explain. It wasn't something that I was getting all bent out of shape about, or just like racing to X to just start, blasting the guy. You said what needed to be said. He probably won't do that again. I don't blame him for doing it that time. I mean, Masyn Winn has been indestructible just about, and they do have Sajacy up here, and no one would want to see Sajacy playing shortstop 20 games in a row, but he did a fine job the other night. So it's one of those things where, okay, Ollie tried something. Donovan DH, maybe to give him a little bit of a breather. Okay, and lo and behold, Masyn Winn gets hurt. Did it cost them? Did it cost them the game? No. Did it cost them any runs in the field? No. So he was resourceful enough to figure out what to do after that. To me, that was impressive. We can question the decision to use him as a DH, but he had contingencies lined up and the contingencies worked. So what's the problem?
The only problem is that we didn't get to see Pedro Pages turn a double play.
I know, that's right.
I was begging for a 6-4-3 double play. I actually kind of wanted to see a 5-4-3 because I think that's probably the most complicated one to turn. But alas, I did not get what I wanted, but that's all right. No, it was a weird series. I don't know how the Cardinals won that Friday game, but they took care of business, and I think they're in good shape into the Houston series.
And how about? I'm sorry. I'm like so jacked up about this. I interrupted again. Bad me. Just mute me. Just mute me. Anyway, how about these catchers? I mean, this is really funny, actually. It's not only Herrera was awesome, just offensively awesome, and then Pages, Katie Woo called it. Is actually capable of hitting a lot better than we assume. They signed this guy out of nowhere. I had no idea who he was, and all of a sudden, both of these guys are hitting up a storm, and and then one of them is playing second base, and it's like whatever you need, they'll do it. They're hitting, they're playing defense. I need an emergency second baseman. Get on out there. I mean, what are they going to do? It's really interesting to see what a strength this catching position is all of a sudden. Where they have options.
They have options, and they can hit.
Funny. It's funny. It's funny. It really is. I won't interrupt anymore. Thanks.
Oh, you're fine, Bernie. There are no rules on this podcast, as you know. Maybe if there were, I would have my life together a little bit more. Let's take a break. We'll hear from the FanDuel Sports Network, and then we'll launch right into the Masyn Winn discourse. Stay with us.
Take me out to my TV on FanDuel Sports Network. Yeah. Watch me some ding
Cardinals games, Chip and Brad, birds on the bat. What more could you ask for? You can, as you know, find your Cardinals on FanDuel Sports Network. They are streamable now, so that's exciting. Something not super exciting is that Masyn Winn did land on the injured list. You know this by now already. He's eligible to return off the 10-day IL April 22nd. I believe that's the second game against Atlanta in Atlanta. Good news first is that this doesn't seem to be something more than the normal designation, where the Cardinals don't think he's going to miss that much time. I know Masyn came out Friday, and I was hesitant to tweet this out because players only have so much say, but he said it. Masyn Winn came out Friday and was like, yeah, my back flared up. I turned to Burley and Nolan Arenado, and I said, I got to come out of this game. And then he told the trainers that he would not be going on the IL, that he was just going to miss a couple of days. But it's not always that easy as a player saying yes and no. And talking to Ollie Marmol the next morning, it was both Ollie and Masyn knew it was going to be more than a couple days before he was ready. They don't want to push him in early April. Weather's cold. New York is about to be freezing, I think. I haven't checked the weather, but it looks like it. And it was more or less the big issue here on why Masyn went on the IL was because his back spasms were flaring up and causing him to impact his pregame routine. Normally, when you have a back injury or really any kind of injury where something's bothering you, you kind of lessen your workload pregame, and then you come into the game so that you can go all out for whatever you have. But that's not what the Cardinals want for Masyn. That's not what's best for Masyn long-term. So they put him on the injured list, and they're going to patch work with Thomas Saggese and Brendan Donovan. We talked about this. There's no true shortstop, but it's not like Saggese's never played it before. He played shortstop for 70 games for Memphis last season. I think the big issue here, or the bigger question, is how often our backs are finicky. So how often is this going to continue being a problem with Masyn? Right now, though, it seems like he's not going to miss much time, and that's a good thing, all things considered.
Yeah, he had a problem with it last year, and he missed some games here and there. And I thought Ollie Marmol was really responsible for giving him, a couple days off here and there when he really needed it. And I know Masyn Winn is a prideful guy and a great competitor and high intensity player, really terrific player. And I know he wants to play 162 games. I don't know that that's good for him or, most major league position players. I think everybody needs to get away from it from now, every now and then. So my question that I would have is, I don't think the Cardinals are going to overreact to one relatively minor setback, but do they need a backup shortstop? Like someone who really has played the position, or because this is a runway season, does it make sense to just say, well, we got a good look at him at shortstop at Memphis last year. Hey, we have no problem using him as a backup shortstop this year. We can also play him at some other positions. Now, I don't know if they're willing to commit to Saggese because I know what they would say. Well, we don't want him up here unless he's going to be playing a lot. Well, you can move him around, so he can probably play more than you think. But I don't think they'll go that way. But I'm just wondering, is that something worth considering, especially if it means you educate me because I'm probably missing this. If you keep Saggese, does that mean Siani's gone? I don't like who's subtracted is what I'm trying to say.
I think there's reasons as to, we could have gone with, as someone who I like Michael Siani, but at the start of the season, why did he make the roster? And always been clear it's for defensive replacement reasons. I just haven't seen that opportunity come up too often after the opening series. But I think you're right about Saggese. I think it makes sense to keep him up on the roster right now. He can play shortstop. He can play second base, third if you need it, although the Cardinals have like 6 third basemen already, most of them playing out of position. Now, I think with Saggese offensively, he's also a guy that where he's not going to necessarily hit for power. He's got a good contact rate. He puts the ball in play. You might as well see what you have with him when he has this rare opportunity, given how the lineup is constructed, to play mostly every day. We know how the Cardinals are going to structure this. It won't be a strict platoon, but most times, if it's a lefty starter, you'll see Saggese at short and Donovan at second. If it's a righty starter, you're going to see Donovan at short, Nolan Gorman at second. Nolan Gorman will have an opportunity to hit against some lefties. That's part of the plan. But they also want to get some reps for Saggese too. I have zero issue with how the team is patchworking this until Masyn comes back. Now, if Masyn was missing or scheduled to miss more than 2 weeks of the season, I'd kind of be like, I don't know. And it's not like the Cardinals have this heavy swing and miss pitching staff. Having a solid middle infield is important given how much weak contact they generate and how much of that is part of the starting pitching and most of the rotations game. It's not the most ideal situation. Really, nothing about the roster has been, but I get it for where they're on. It's a fine solution given the amount of time Masyn is slated to miss.
Yeah, and so JC gives you another right-handed bat. You're overloaded with left-handed bats, so it gives you a little balance. But again, I think it is important that he plays pretty regularly. So we'll just see how this develops during the course of the season, But
yeah, we'll see.
He's shown that he's not scared, as they say. He comes up here and he's poised and he's done well. Experience he got.
All you can ask, because it's not an easy thing to come in and know that you're going to be somewhat of a bench role and stay prepared. But you're seeing guys like Luke and Baker really take their time and really figure out a way with their prep work to stay ready. I thought Burleson coming off the bench when needed has been nice, and I small sample size from Nolan Gorman so far, but it's not it's fine. Again, it's fine for what they're doing. Obviously, you want Masyn back as soon as possible. It's a different lineup without Herrera and Masyn Winn, because you're missing Herrera's overall bat-to-ball skills. You're missing his power. Masyn and Victor, we talk about that speed dynamic at the end of the lineup. But with Contreras scuffling, Herrera's place was even more pivotal. So it was nice to see Willson Contreras kind of come out of it this weekend. Humble flex and some background for those of you who are so interested in how the Busch Stadium press box works. When I was an intern in San Diego in 2018, the writers there played a little game called Yard, and you hear the rules. You get one pitch a game to call Yard. But that's it. And as soon as you say it, you can't take it back. You win absolutely nothing, by the way. It's just bragging rights. So I have brought that game to St. Louis. Jeff Jones has won the last 2 years in a row. I was in a drought. In 2022, I won nothing except bragging rights because I had 4 yard calls in a season. I used all 4 of them on Albert Pujols. Don't hate the player, hate the game. It was a great strategy. But since then, I have gone 0-4 for 2 whole seasons until today when I saw Willson Contreras 3-1 against Zach Wheeler. And I knew Zach Wheeler was going to have to throw him his fastball. And I knew Willson Contreras knew that Zach Wheeler was going to have to throw him his fastball. And he did. And it went over the fence. So I'm officially on the board. I actually think my the direct sentence on contact was put my name on the freaking board, boys. Except I didn't say freaking. And that's why people are continuously tired of me at work.
Well, I need to hear more about this. So how do you make sure you declare yourselves without people not hearing it or not sure what you said? Does one, when you're about to call Yard, does one, whether it be Katie Woo or any of the other fine baseball writers there, do you have to stand up in your seat and scream it out? How does this work?
No, you just say Yard and you make sure if no one acknowledges it, I personally, I don't want to risk it. I need to make sure someone acknowledges it. So this was Benjamin Hockman was like, Katie called it. So everyone was all on alert. And then everyone was definitely on alert based off my reaction. No cheering in the press box, obviously, but I was cheering for myself. So
yeah, it's a harmless game. Yeah.
Yes.
Why not?
I'm positive. I feel very positive about where Willson Contreras is at. And he definitely, talking to his post game, feels pretty positive too. It was funny on Friday, that scheduled off day he was in the clubhouse and there were 3 boxes of bats that he was clearing out of his locker. I looked at him, I was like, are you out on those? He goes, yep, they're going away. Bye-bye. And he got rid of I would have to say 20 bats. And he's like, I'm not using them anymore. Now he's using a torpedo bat, started using that on Saturday. So he has officially caught the fever and it seems to be paying off so far.
Anybody else using it there?
Donovan used something similar, not an exact torpedo bat, but I think from my understanding, Contreras is the first one in that clubhouse to use the real deal there.
Why not? It's obviously legal. There's nothing shady about it. My friend Will Leach, who I do Seeing Red with a podcast every Monday morning about the Cardinals. He wrote a great column for the Washington Post, and he was talking about, hey, I love baseball fans because I am one of them. So he wasn't putting down baseball fans, but he was saying, what is it about baseball where fans just constantly are just things become a scandal immediately? This is a scandal. This is not good. They can't allow this. And it's just, and he actually went through a history of this, every single time, baseball fans get in an uproar over something, it's a scandal. It's a scandal. They're violating the spirit of the rule. They're doing this, they're doing that. And where Will is kind of most of these things that, we as fans holler about, they're fun and they're harmless. So enjoy the game. Quit looking for scandals that don't exist.
We are supposed to enjoy baseball, everyone.
Right,
And
right.
I know how you feel. We're all in a toxic relationship with the St. Louis Cardinals, all of us. But it is a sport, and we should try to enjoy it. And that is something that I am reminding myself of every day. But I really had to remind myself after that road trip, which I'm finally recovering from. But
yeah, and I think they're enjoyable to watch. They're also baffling at times. They're exasperating at times, but they keep it interesting, and that's kind of been a theme of the season. Because when you think you got them boxed in about what to expect, they go the other way. They zig and they zag. They're all over the place. But that's what's kind of fun. But it looked like the vibe in that dugout today was pretty great. I mean, it looked like party time, which you want to see in that dugout when they're having a good game.
Definitely. Guys, keeping it light, keeping it fun. The worst thing, as you know, as a beat writer, is having a boring team. And I don't know if we have like a NL pennant team on our hands, Bernie, but they are, given all of the things that are going on, at least interesting.
Well, the NL Central, every team's got problems. The Cubs are losing Justin Steele for the year, Tommy John surgery.
That's
Every single team in the NL Central has got problems. So I'm like you. I always have to feel like I got to preface everything. I'm not saying the Cardinals can win the division. I'm just saying everyone's sort of taking a couple steps forward, one step back, two step backs, two forward. Everyone in the division is kind of doing that. So the Cardinals are fortunate to just, grind out enough wins to where they're in the thick of things. They're in a position to make the best of it if they're capable of consistent ball. They're keeping themselves in the game, so to speak. And I like that. It's never too early to establish yourself as like, well, we're not going to let this thing get away from us. We're going to be here. We're going to be right in the middle of this for whatever that's worth. I like that. It makes the season more interesting. Even early, it does.
Yeah, definitely. And if the Cardinals hover around 500, I know fans they've been conditioned, and I totally get it, to expect a lot more than that from their local ball club. But given what the Cardinals are doing right now, given how off the rails things have been and behind the scenes and player development, where they're at, and from a financial standpoint, if the Cardinals can stay 500 in April, the division allows for that. And then they can make they can make choices depending on how the season goes that should allow them to remain in contention. That is, of course, if they flame out, then we're not talking about it.
And they could.
That's the beauty of the season, Bernie. We have so many games left. It's only April 13th. So
that's right.
We got
April
time.
13th. All right. Well, I still think they're going to be about somewhere from 79 to like 82 wins. I'm not going to come off that yet, but I think they've got some components that might be better than I thought, at least so far. Then again, coming into today, their last 5 games, they averaged like 2.5 runs. So, I mean, the offense had been shut down before today, like starting in the Pittsburgh series. So again, we're going to see a lot of fluctuations. I should know better at my age. I got to try not to basically overreact to the negative or the positive, because it's going to be like that all year. They're going to be going back and forth between those two things.
Yeah. If you want consistency, this is not the ball club for you.
Right.
This is don't expect that. So you'll be on your toes at least. Last thing, Bernie, before we head out for the day, I want to highlight the player to watch for the upcoming series against the Houston Astros. We'll have an episode up Monday morning, by the way, a crossover with Cardinal Territory, Chandler Rome, beat writer for The Athletic covering the Astros, and I will take you through that series. But for now, here's what I'm looking at, our FanDuel Sports Network player to watch going into the series. For me, it's Nolan Gorman, because all spring, all offseason, and then into spring training, we heard Nolan Gorman. We need to see what we have in Nolan Gorman. We need to give him a chance to play every day. This is a huge year for him. And so far, we haven't really seen much of him. Now, part of that was because he was outplayed in spring training. Alec Burleson absolutely deserved to be up, like on the totem pole, if you will, based off spring performance. The missing 10 games with the minor hamstring strain didn't help either. But as Ollie Marmol said, and as we referenced earlier in the show, Gorman's going to have some opportunity here to start every day. And I really would like to see where he's at from a pure hitter profile. He's so strong, has so much power. Anytime you have a player like that, swing and miss is going to be part of their game. Obviously, you don't want it to be nearly 40%. So I'd like to see if Brant Brown's approach, which has seemed to rub off on quite literally everybody else down that lineup, has also rubbed off on Nolan Gorman. And I'm excited to see what he does with consistent playing time in Masyn Winn's absence.
My player to watch would be Wilson Contreras, because he's feeling it.
Mhm.
I mean, he was just lost, and we all knew he would. It would click in eventually, and he's feeling it. I mean, watching him today, it was just like, okay, he's back. You get this body, his body language, his smiles, his emotion, everything. It was all restored. So I'm looking forward to. I just got a feeling about him, and we can people can make fun of me if I'm wrong. I don't mind that because I like self-deprecating humor. So you can take shots at me; it doesn't matter. It just looks like he's about to go on one of those runs, So I'm looking for that to happen. So we'll see.
I'm with you. I thought the single on Saturday to right center, that was my first indicator that I was like, oh, that swing might be coming back, because when Wilson Contreras is at his best, he's driving the ball to that part of the ballpark. And then the homer was loud. The double off the wall was loud, and the demeanor was completely different. I thought Wilson did a really nice job of keeping his composure. That was not a fun 2 weeks to start the season, but he showed up every day in the same goofy mood, always had something to say to me, like, why are you looking at me? I'm not. But just playing around and, kept it really loose. And in seasons prior, I don't think he would have done that. So Nolan Gorman and Wilson Contreras, 2 players to watch with this upcoming series. Again, that's our Player to Watch presented by FanDuel Sports Network. You can now stream the St. Louis Cardinals game through FanDuel Sports Network. And if you use the promo code baseball30, you can start it off with a 30-day extended free trial at FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. This deal expires May 2nd, 2025, $19.99 a month after your free trial. Cancel during your free trial to avoid charges. Eligibility restrictions apply. Visit FanDuelSportsNetwork.com for details. A fun week ahead for the St. Louis Cardinals. 3 games against Houston, 4 games in New York. I always love going to Citi Field, although some crazy shit always happens when we're at Citi Field. So keep me in your thoughts, everyone. Bernie, we'll be back. You and I will be back later in the week. Like I mentioned, a new episode of a crossover. I think this is my first crossover podcast with Cardinal Territory, and then an interview with Miles Miklasz that should be out by Wednesday. And Bernie and I will wrap up the Astros series shortly after that. As always, my friend, it's good to talk to you.
Good to be with you.
Positive vibes after a big series win for St. Louis. Let's see if they can keep it going. For Bernie Miklasz, I'm Katie Woo. We'll see you next time.